The Giants minicamp has barely started, and there are already people saying that this roster could be the best in the NFC East. It may seem like an exaggeration, but when you look at the names, the moves, and the atmosphere in training, the conversation changes. The truth is that the league still sees the Giants as the team of 2023, weak, disorganized, without direction. But the reality in 2025 is different, and whoever continues to underestimate will be surprised. This roster is stronger, deeper, and above all, hungrier than ever. Hello Big Blue fans, I'm your name, and this is another video for those who cheer, suffer, and believe in our New York Giants. Today we're going to answer a simple but powerful question. Why does the NFL keep sleeping on this team? First of all, like the video here, subscribe to the channel and comment below. How many wins do you think the Giants will have? Over or under 5.5? This channel is made by fans and for fans. So let's interact. I want to see your opinion in the comments. Now hold on tight, because we're going to show, block by block, why this Giants team deserves respect. Let's remember where we were. 2023 was a tough year. Offense was ineffective, offensive line was crumbling, quarterback was injured, and defense was overwhelmed. But even in the chaos, some pieces started to shine. Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Bobby Okereke, and Deonte Banks showed grit. GM Joe Schoen knew exactly where to attack in the offseason. Fix the secondary, bolster the trenches, and bring in leadership. And that's what he did. Jevon Holland, Paulson Adebo, Abdul Carter, Jonah Gostin, and strategic OL reinforcements like Van Roten and Stinney. The result? A roster with identity, full of physical, fast players ready to change the narrative. The defense is starting to take shape as an elite team. The defensive line with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Carter, and Thibodeaux is one of the most frightening in the league. The linebacker group is aggressive and intelligent, and the secondary now combines youth with experience. On offense, the arrival of Russell Wilson could be the difference. He brings leadership, game reading, and a history of success. Malik Neighbors is the missing weapon, fast, technical, and hungry. But the group still has Hyatt, Wandale, Slayton, and Theo Johnson could be the big surprise. An athletic TE, with a nose for big plays and ready to take center stage at the position. One of the most memorable moments of the minicamp so far was the connection between Daniel Jones and Theo Johnson in the seam. Perfect touch, clean route, and explosion. Jevon Holland arrived and has already become a reference in the defense. He commands, shouts, anticipates plays. He is a natural leader and has already won over the team. Abdul Carter is training as if he were a veteran. He presses, covers the field, and hits hard. He has been getting snaps with the starters since the first practice. On the OL, Evan Neal's move to RG and the return of a healthy Andrew Thomas give a new face to the protection. And behind the scenes, the vibe is different. Players are more united, competitive, eager to prove that 2023 was a bump in the road. The media still insists on placing the Giants as one of the worst teams in the league. But the numbers no longer support this narrative. In 2023, the team had the worst offensive line in the NFL and an offense that didn't exceed 17 yards per drive. In 2025, that will change. With protection, playmakers, and experience in charge, the offense has everything it needs to make a leap. We've seen this story before with the Broncos. A discredited roster, a dominant defense, a well-adjusted offense, and playoffs. The Giants could very well follow this path. The foundation is ready. The reinforcements have arrived, and the competitive spirit is back in full force. Now it's up to you. Will the Giants shut up the NFL and secure a spot in the playoffs in 2025? I want to know, who do you think will be the most impactful name this season? Jevon Holland, Malik Neighbors, Russell Wilson? Comment below, like and share this video with another fanatic fan. Subscribe to the channel because the season has already started, and we'll cover everything from the draft to the Super Bowl. And always remember, this is the New York Giants, win or fight, and this season will be fight with victory.
Equity he builds up with them, and he's got that moxie where guys like to be around him. They gravitate towards him, and they see that he puts the work in. So it was a glove fit for us.
Brandon, every year at the draft, you hear somebody say, like, I thought this team told me they were going to draft me, and they didn't draft me. How difficult is the fine line to walk between showing a player love, telling him you're interested in him, and not leading him on to believe he's your guy that you're going to pick?
For sure. And like when you get to the combine or early in the process, you're still in the fact-finding part, right? You have a good feel, or you should have a good feel for what the player is on the field, how he could fit into your system from just a skill set standpoint. But then as you have these, call it off-season benchmarks, you figure out the intangibles. And you're negligent if you make that decision on a player before you go through the full kitchen sink process with them. So it's, how can he process? What's the work ethic that he puts in? What are his outside of football interests? What drives him? What's his support system like? All those things contribute to really what's his floor, what's his ceiling. Like when you look at the end of the day, we're looking at the draft, there's a lot of risk analysis that goes on. And then you factor in the medical component. So you find some of that medical component stuff later on, which allows you to either creates you an opportunity for a player or it makes it more risky than not to take the player.
You were talking about risk analysis. What was the calculation with Jackson? Like you're sitting at 3, you know you can get him at 3, and then obviously you take Abdul because everything you said he does, and just not knowing if Jackson's going to make it to wherever you ended up getting him.
Yeah, well, I think when you take Abdul, man, he was, for us, the talent was a no-brainer. You look at opportunity costs, right? What are you giving up potentially for the player you're taking? And we, with the help from NASA, which is our analytics crew that we affectionately call them NASA, and you take our area scouts who they hear the word on the street. Scouts talk, and you hear from other buildings where guys may be on the board, and there's so much dead time in the spring before the draft, you start to hear where guys potentially may fall. And as we get all this information from agents, all third-party sources, we figure, okay, what's our best opportunity to strike? And we knew, once we got into the 20s, there was going to be an opportunity for Jackson. It was going to be at what striking point, and then what would be the compensation we'd have to give up.
Brandon, you know how.
Go ahead, Art.
You and Joe have worked closely together now to this point. So in that point, you're in the draft room. We got to see it after the fact when the team released the video of Joe and just could see the, I don't know how I would describe it, but the emotions of when do we pull the trigger, when do we know it's the right opportunity, and then the relief when it finally hits. From someone who was in there but also just kind of had to watch it transpire, what did that feel like to know that here's a quarterback, and we know how important they are, that you guys like, but you just don't know until you know when you pull that trigger?
Yeah. The first thing, Art, I have to give my hats off for Joe for how systematic and streamlined our processes was, where nothing happened that we were surprised about. Leading up to the draft, we have these strategy sessions where we go through hypothetical scenarios. If we take a player early, if we trade back into one, what does that look like? And it's almost like no different than practicing. You take those reps, so when game day comes on draft day, you're ready for whatever. There's no curveball surprise where you're caught flat-footed. So I think when you get into the 20s, we knew there's going to be striking opportunities and potential deals that could have been done with multiple clubs. And we were happy that we were able to keep pick 65 and get Darius Alexander later. And these are some of those scenarios we worked through. So just for it to come to fruition, seeing that sigh of relief from Joe, everything that we planned for doesn't always go according to plan, but this one planned out the way that we did, said, hey, we may be in this position, what does it look like? And for the way that it came together, we were really happy.
Randy,